Ready, set, adventure! Welcome to Hikanuki World Tour and to day 8 on our cruise aboard the NCL Pearl. Today we're in beautiful Santorini, Greece. We'll take in the breathtaking views, sample the local beer, stop for dinner, and you never know, we might even meet a celebrity.
We got Dr. Rick, right? Dr. Rick, player 232.
The Greek Wedding Show! Every day, 9 o'clock!
Welcome to day 8 on our cruise aboard the NCL Pearl. Today we're heading to Santorini, Greece. It's hard to believe, but we only have 2 ports left until our cruise concludes. Today we don't anchor until 1:30, so we took time for lunch at the buffet. We'll take a walk around and see what they have to offer today. Then we stepped outside to see what they were serving up at Topsiders Bar and Grill. Usually this is a little smaller buffet with lighter offerings such as sandwiches, hamburgers, and hot dogs. And today, since we're not in port yet, there's some merchandise for sale on the pool deck, along with some fancy dancing.
Thank you.
And a cameraman to capture it all on film. It looks like they have t-shirts from our various ports of call. The sun is shining today and we might actually need some suntan lotion. And maybe we'll grab a towel and head to the pool until it's time to go ashore. And now that it's a little bit after noon, tender tickets are being distributed. But just look at that line. This is one of my complaints about the Pearl. They had a lot of inefficiencies in their transportation. There must be a better way to distribute tickets. They wanted only 1 person per party to go get tickets, but you could get as many as you wanted. The whole thing just seemed a little inefficient and a bit unfair. Of course, if you were on a shore excursion, you didn't have to do this. Although it was quite windy, it was a beautiful day, the sun was shining, and people are even up on the sun deck to watch us anchor in Santorini. And what a beautiful sight as the Caldera came into view. The white buildings almost look like snow on a mountaintop. This was probably the most anticipated port by most people, and our first glimpses did not disappoint. Here's a couple in a forward-facing balcony pointing out the sights. And there's no one on the crew deck because they're all busy at work. Catamaran cruises are popular, especially at sunset. A massive volcanic eruption thousands of years ago is to thank for this beauty. The scenery is jaw-dropping and you truly feel like you're in a postcard. Today one other ship is here. They got here earlier, so that means they'll be leaving earlier. And that means the town will be crowded. Although sometimes there can be as many as 4 cruise ships anchored. Santorini is known by many as the most beautiful island in Greece and the most romantic. So no wonder it's popular with cruisers. The town we can see now is Fira. The white zigzags you see going up the cliff are the donkey trails. To reach the town of Fira from the port, you can take a donkey ride or a cable car, or you can walk up the stairs alongside the donkeys. Tenders run continuously between the port and the anchored ships. On the pool deck, the band was entertaining while the bartenders worked their magic making drinks. Just a reminder to hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to Hikanuki World Tour. It really helps our channel grow. Thanks, we really do appreciate you. In the atrium, people were waiting for their tender ticket number to be called. We had tender ticket number 16, so we'll see how long that takes. Blue and white are the most popular colors in Santorini. Tenders began boarding about 1 o'clock, about 30 minutes earlier than scheduled, which was nice. Tenders for tour groups were going to a different port than those for other passengers. This was the port where they would be met by tour buses. Tenders were running continuously throughout the day, and the last tender was to leave at 9 p.m. Our tender ticket, number 16, was called at about 1:40. We were more than a little surprised to see how backed up the line was. Of course, this was leading to much frustration on the part of many passengers. We waited about 35 minutes from the time our number was called till we got on the tender. The tender ride was a short 10-minute ride over to Fira. Plenty of selfie opportunities. The cable car to Fira is €6 each way, while the donkey ride is €10. You can also walk up the steps, but keep in mind they're the same steps that the donkeys use. I believe there are about 580 steps. And now we're approaching the old port. After we docked, we made a transportation decision that we wish we hadn't. I'd never been here before, and I wanted to see both the towns, the town of Fira and the town of Ia. So when I saw an advertisement for a way to do both, I thought that was the perfect thing. We got off the tender and passed by some restaurants and shops. It's all a little overwhelming because it's unfamiliar and everybody's in a rush and there's a lot of people. Ahead we saw a sign for a transfer to Ia. So instead of heading to the donkey ride or cable car ride, we went to investigate the transfer to Ia. And we weren't the only ones. The sign read, "Transfer to Ia by Speedboat and then return to Fira town." And the cost was a mere €30 per person. And of course, when things sound too good to be true, they probably aren't. This lovely lady was explaining this simple procedure.
To meet the buses, because buses cannot maneuver there. Right. It's not very steep, road up, no steps. Every hour on the hour, between 3 and 7 o'clock. And another bus in 20 minutes from Ia town returns you to Fira town on time.
We probably should have known by the lengthy explanation that this was not going to be easy. But it seemed popular, and it seemed fun.
Every hour on the hour, between 3 and 7 o'clock. And another bus returns you from Ia to Fira.
So this is the speedboat that was leaving immediately, but didn't leave for 20 more minutes. And wasn't exactly my idea of a speedboat. Once arriving at the port, we were to get off of the speedboat and find the awaiting bus. We'd have to walk a few steps up a gentle slope because the bus couldn't come all the way to the port. I'll take a minute to tell you, you should really just take the cable car up for €6. On a cruise ship stop, there simply isn't enough time to visit both Fira and Ia and do them both justice. So I suggest you pick one or the other and not do this convoluted tour that we did. After the cruise, we are coming back for 3 more days in Santorini, so we weren't too upset with our decision. Just a little aggravated, as we ended up spending most of the day worried about transportation and running out of time. And there's the donkeys that cost €10 to ride. It took us 30 minutes to get to the port at Ia, and the boat ride over there was absolutely beautiful. So we left the old port and headed for Amudi Bay. We wanted to go to Ia because it's considered the most picturesque village in Santorini. Ia is generally a little more quiet than Fira. Fira has a little more of a party reputation. So we decided we wanted to see both. The boat ride provided spectacular views. However, this was not to be a round-trip boat ride. Once we got off the boat, we were to find a bus. Then the bus would take us to town, and then we could walk around town, and then we would go back to the bus, and the bus would take us to Fira. Simple enough. And now we're approaching Amudi Bay. We didn't know it at the time, but we would return here for dinner a few nights later. But now it was time to get off the boat, head up the gentle slope, and look for the bus to take us to town. There's always time for a selfie. From here you can see the gentle slope that we're supposed to walk up to find our bus. One more selfie. This is the Amudi Bay Fish Tavern, which we absolutely recommend, especially at sunset. There's some donkeys over on this side of the island too. And now we're going to walk up the slope to look for the bus. This is where the plan got a little bit off kilter. We saw what looked like a bus stop, but no bus. From this point, we took a minivan up to the top of the hill to the waiting bus. This whole procedure was rather disorganized. There didn't seem to be anybody really in charge or many people that knew exactly what the procedure was supposed to be. We finally boarded the bus about 15 minutes after we arrived. From there, it was about an 8-minute bus ride. At this point, we were a little nervous that we had made the wrong decision. It had taken us about 2 hours to get from the ship over to Ia town. And the last part of our trip was to take the bus back to Fira. The bus ran every hour from 3 o'clock until 7 o'clock. And here's a tour group waiting for their bus. The 2 complaints about doing Santorini on a cruise ship are that it's very busy and it's very time consuming to get from place to place. But the scenery is breathtaking. Just don't try to do too much in one day. Be aware that there are a lot of stairs, there is uneven pavement, and a lot of walking. So let's join the crowds and take a walk around. Here's one of the iconic blue-domed churches. Here are the many people clamoring to get that perfect picture. Originally, houses were painted white because of the hot sun, and this kept them cooler. And in 1938, during a cholera outbreak, homes were mandated to be whitewashed with limestone to help disinfect. And in 1967, during the military dictatorship, homes were mandated to be painted blue and white to inspire patriotism. No matter what the reasons, they're certainly beautiful. There are shops and restaurants all along the walkways, and hotels, restaurants, and bars dot the cliff sides of the Caldera. The town of Ia tends to be a little more upscale than that of Fira. Even the walkways seem a little classier. We decided we wanted to try to catch the 5 o'clock bus back to Fira. We stopped in at Cuckoo Bar for some coffee. This was a charming place and the coffee was delicious.
We're gonna get what are we gonna get? A double Greek coffee, right?
We are going for a double Greek,
Okay. That's what we'll have then.
like medium. We go-
I have to have the good coffee, right?
Of course.
Oh, is that awesome?
And now our crowd is gathering waiting for the bus. This is where we were dropped off and where we were supposed to meet the bus to go back to Fira. However, they decided to change the plan and make us walk down to the bus parking lot. This was really a poorly organized tour. We felt like they were just kind of winging it as they went along. We drove on the road opposite of the Caldera, which gave us a different view of the island. It was a half-hour bus ride, so we arrived at 5:30. The last tender was at 9, so we still had plenty of time to walk around. We were planning to take the cable car back down to the port to catch the tender, and we did keep in mind that it was very crowded and there would probably be a long line for that. We walked around the town, taking in the sights, before we looked for a place for dinner. We stopped by the hotel that we were going to be staying at in a few nights and made arrangements for our transfers. They also gave us a recommendation for dinner of Barolo. We thought we were going to a little neighborhood restaurant, but it turned out to be huge. It was at the top of the Caldera and featured amazing views. They had a nice menu with a Greek flair. It was so beautiful you just couldn't help but look around. And there's the Pearl down below. It had been a very hot day, but as the sun started to go down, it was absolutely perfect. And many people were enjoying the outdoor dining. And as we found throughout Greece, service was always welcoming and hospitable. We went with the local beer, Red Donkey. It was refreshing after a stressful day. We started with the rolls, which were served with fresh Greek olives as well as butter and olive oil. They also provided local balsamic vinegar with the olive oil. The light was perfect as the sun began to set. For dinner, I chose the Santorini tomato risotto with feta cream, and it was delectable. Our waiter recommended the pork tenderloin special to my husband. It was served with a lemon mustard sauce, which was really good. The corn on the cob was buttery and tasted garden fresh. The meat was well seasoned and flavorful, but was a little bit tough. While the food was good, the setting was amazing. Maybe a sharper knife would have helped. It was tasty, it just took a little work. As sunset drew closer, the restaurant really started to get busy. People in Santorini do like to get dressed up. After dinner, we decided to walk around just a little bit longer, but we wanted to get to the cable car before it got too crowded.
I'm hungry. We got food. I'm thirsty. We got wine. When? The Greek Wedding Show. Every day, 9 o'clock.
Just like Ia, there are no shortage of stores in Fira. It was about 7:15 now, and the streets are still lively and crowded. The other cruise ship had already left, but it was still very busy. Plenty of photo opportunities throughout this beautiful place. It was 7:30 and the last tender was at 9, but we thought we should head down just to be safe. And on our left is the cable car station, and it looks like a line has already formed. At this time in the evening, the donkeys are done, so you can walk down their stairs or wait for the cable car. And as you may guess, the donkeys don't always have the best hygiene, so you'll be dodging donkey dung if you go that way. Plus, it's a little dark and hard to see. So we chose the cable car, which was €6. And here's the end of the line. You did not have to have your ticket in advance. You could purchase it when you got to the station. It took us about 30 minutes to get from the back of the line onto the cable car. And we enjoyed talking to people in line.
Okay, we're in line for the cable car. Okay, everybody like Santorini? Santorini. All right, thank you.
Santorini.
All right, and we got Dr. Rick, right?
Dr. Rick, player 232.
Player 232. The Great Squid Challenge. All right.
There are 6 cable cars at a time, and each seat 5 to 6 people. The trip is only about 3 minutes. Our advice is to leave plenty of time to get back to the tender. I think most people would agree that the cable car is the best way to go, especially after dark. You should keep in consideration how many cruise ships are anchored, because this will be a significant factor in determining how long the cable car wait will be. Santorini is still beautiful even after dark. Here are some people that chose to walk down the steps. While the path is lighted, we saw many people with their phone flashlights on. We found Santorini to be an absolutely beautiful place to visit, although it's not without its transportation hurdles. Be prepared, plan ahead, and don't call an audible at the last minute like we did. We were able to get on the waiting tender and head back to the ship. It was about 8:15 when we boarded the tender. We had had a full day and were anxious to get back and relax. Everything seemed especially colorful after dark. There were still quite a few people coming down to the tender. I think NCL could have done a better job of informing people of the complexities of getting back to the tender. I think the long lines at the cable car caught many by surprise. So hopefully everyone made it back in time. The ship at night was a beautiful sight. And Fira was also a beautiful sight. And everyone looks anxious to get back on the ship. I thought the return tenders operated very efficiently. We took a quick stroll through the art gallery on our way to the Atrium. It's been a while since we've been to an art auction, so maybe on our next cruise we'll go. I always find it interesting to see what people buy. There were a lot of colorful pieces in this collection. We hadn't spent many of our evenings in the Atrium, but it was a popular place to go. Instead, we usually went to Magnum's. It was always vibrant and lively here, and it became a comfortable place to spend time. This looked like it was going to be a big win, but it disappointed, so we went back to the cabin. And that was how we spent our day in Santorini, and now it's on to Mykonos. Thanks for joining us today at Hikanuki World Tour on our day in Santorini, Greece. Our travel wisdom for today comes from Henry Miller. It takes a lifetime for someone to discover Greece, but it only takes an instant to fall in love with her. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and follow us on Instagram and hit that notification bell so you'll be alerted when new videos are dropped.